guys, this is Jackie, your nerdy crafter. I love geology. Anything that has to do with the earth, rocks, volcanoes, anything like that is just so fascinating. And so I decided to devote this week's tutorial to geology. And depending where the light hits, you can see the translucent effect in the back. Many of you guys ask me what kind of clay I use, and I only use Sculpey products. Now there's a reason for that, and that's because Sculpey is really easy to work with. First of all, the color doesn't come off in your hands. Secondly, if I open a pack and 2 weeks later I decide to go back and do another project, it's still soft. I've had terrible experience with Fimo and it always ends up crumbling after a couple of weeks, even if it's not even baked. I know some people prefer working with harder clay, but I really like a softer and more malleable clay. This week I'm using two colors from this package, so the Primo Accents. So I'm using the Pearl White and the Pearl Purple, which I've used up entirely. Neat thing about Primo Accents is that it actually has mica pigments in there, so your pieces are super shiny.
You guys can see how shiny this is.
Here's what you'll need for this project: Pearly Purple, Pearl White, Translucent, Plain White, a rounded tool, a sharp cutter, and rubbing alcohol and a Q-tip to clean up your piece. The first thing we're going to do is take our Pearl White and our Translucent, and we're going to flatten it out as thin as we can. This thickness should do. Once we have the Pearly White and the Translucent all thin, put it in the freezer for at least 10 minutes. Now while the pieces are in the freezer, what we're going to do is we need at least 4 different shades of purple. And for that, you're going to mix it with your white. So the first ratio is going to have equal parts of purple, equal parts of white. Mix it up. And only blend it this much, so make sure you still have the swirls in there. Now the next batch is going to be more white than purple. Mix them up. And this one will be better blended. The next batch you'll have more purple than actual white. Mix them together. And also make sure that this one is fully blended. And then finally you're going to have your full-fledged purple. Now take your pearly white out of the freezer and chop it up with your cutter, so that you get little pieces like this. Now do the same thing with your translucent white. Take both chopped up whites and put them one on the other. Mix them up. Now squish them together and make a ball, so that you're getting a mixture that looks like this. Now you're going to roll your mixture like this, and now we're going to start putting layers. What we want to start with are the 2 lighter tones. You're going to put 1 layer at a time. You're going to start with the lightest one and then the darker one. And you're going to do this at least 4 times. Make sure that you flatten this as flat as you can get. This thickness should do. Now that we have 4 layers of the lighter colors, let's work on to the darker ones. Now we have our 2 darker tones. You're going to flatten them out the same way you did with the lighter ones. Now instead of starting with the lighter purple, we're going to start with the darker one to layer. So this is what we have so far. Now what we're going to do is build thicker layers. So don't flatten your pieces as thin as of now. So this is the thinness we were using just now, and this one's the one that we're going to use as of now. Now take the lighter-ish purple and only cover a half of your piece. Now do the same thing with your darker purple. So this is what we have. Now take your cutter and remove the excess clay that's in the front of your back of your middle piece. Before we roll the piece so that it becomes one even section, take your rounded tool or any other big tool and start poking random holes inside your piece. What these holes do is that they're going to make part of the purples go into each other, so it doesn't look too even. I'm going to close these holes up. Now we're going to put this in the freezer for 10 minutes. Once it's been in the freezer for long enough, take your cutter and cut thin slices out of this piece. Now take each piece and start extending it so that it looks closer to what the rock would look like. If you have a pasta rolling machine, feel free to put one of the pieces through so that it's super thin. When we pushed with our rounded tool, these were the crevices that we created. Makes it look more realistic. Now if you want to create fissures right in the middle, take your piece and pull it apart, only in the center, so that you're getting tears that look like this right in the center. Now the next thing you're going to do is take your pointy tool and start pushing the sides slightly so that they don't seem too even. Now take your rubbing alcohol and Q-tip and clean it up. If you want to make this into a necklace, make a hole with your pointy tool right on top. Once your pieces are prepped, put them in the oven at 275 degrees Fahrenheit for 8 minutes. Once they're out of the oven, put them in the bowl of ice water. Once you take them out of the ice cold water, glaze them at least 3-4 different coats. All done! Remember, you can make this into anything you want. It can either be a pendant, magnet, or even different color agates. The more layers, the better it looks, so don't be shy. Next week I have a very special chibi tutorial for you guys. If you have suggestions for future geeky tutorials, leave them in the comment section below, and don't forget to subscribe. And if you haven't added me on Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, and Instagram, do it. Until then, I will see you guys next week.